You're watching TVC Breakfast. October 10th is World Mental Health Day. The theme for this year is mental health care for all. And there's also the sub-theme mental health in an unequal world, highlighting unequal access to mental health care across the world. Now, this situation has been further worsened by the outbreak of the coronavirus that has seen governments focus squarely on tackling the pandemic while other health issues are left unattended to. Now, the pressure from dealing with the pandemic has exacerbated the mental health situation across the world. In Nigeria, cases of depression and other mental issues are on the rise. Now, according to World Health Organization, 1 in 4 Nigerians suffers from mental illness, but help is hampered by tight budgets and the lack of skilled staff. There are only 8 federal neuropsychiatric hospitals in the country, with less than 150 psychiatrists to a population of over 200 million people. The WHO estimates that fewer than 10% of mentally ill Nigerians have access to the care they need. These are some of the challenges we'll be talking about right now. So we have in the studio to help us discuss this, a mental health advocate, Oluwaseun Dosunmu. It's nice to have you join me.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me.
Great. Now, this issue of, in 2 days, we'll be commemorating World Health Day, but on a day like this, we want to see how we can build up to the day by creating awareness. But talk to us basically, when it comes to the state of the health of the mental, capacity of anyone, how mentally, let me put it, how do you determine the mental health of anyone?
Okay, so it's not really a complex issue to understand, and that's because if we really pay attention to how people behavioral changes and all of that, it's a lot easier to decipher. But oftentimes, because individuals are supposed busy and very insensitive, they find it really difficult. Mental health or mental illness as it is, for some, it's evident. You can easily detect that, there's a change in behavioral patterns. But for others, you might not. It's not something that is so visible. Like a physical disability, you can see that. But for mental illness, it's not something.
It's challenging to see.
So, but more importantly, for friends, relatives, colleagues who spend, a lot of time with these individuals, should, if they are attentive and have a clear understanding of how this person behaves and how this person behaves at this time and used to behave, then you can compare and see that there's a change in behavioral patterns.
Now, what are some of the societal challenges that are posing a threat to mental health on a regular?
Well, there are quite a lot, but we need to start with the, stress. Stress is something some people even say they are used to stress.
Wow.
You can't be used to stress. It has its negative impact, and probably you are still, at the lucky stage. You aren't at that stage where you break down. Like my friend who is also an expert, a medical doctor, says that stress that is poorly managed can lead to depression, and depression that is poorly managed can lead to suicide ideations or even lead to suicide. So, and this is a situation many Nigerians encounter. You go to work, wake up as early as 4:30. You have to deal with numerous tasks at work. Yes, you are getting paid, but then when it's overwhelming, it has a negative impact on you. You have to also live with stigma, live with, oh, you are not married, oh, you are married, you are underpaid, you don't earn as much as you earn, and combined with all of the emotional traumas from being sacked at work, or your boss is making advances and then is affecting your delivery. And you still get home, maybe you're married or you have rents, bills to pay, and all of that can begin to, put you in a box where, you begin to welcome mental illness. So that's for, other issues, but there are more severe cases like schizophrenia, anxiety disorders, which are a bit more complex and would require the need of, a psychologist or a psychiatrist. or for others, stress-related, emotional. I think, to a large extent, some individuals who understand psychotherapy can play pivotal.
But in a city like Lagos, where Lagos is on the fast pace, where everyone wakes up and then you are on the fast lane trying to meet up a lot of things. The pressure of living in Lagos with the traffic and deadlines and stuff like that. I wonder what people should be conscious of, because you are saying that if it is poorly managed, a mental state that is mental health is poorly managed, is stressed, exactly, that is poorly managed can lead to depression. And if that is also poorly managed, it can even lead to extreme cases of suicide. So what should we wake up being conscious of when it comes to trying to ensure that, okay, we don't have to wait to see the evidence of us getting, out of hand before we begin to take some necessary precautions?
So as it is, we all interact with this society, and the society is obviously full of individuals like you and I. So because we interact on a daily basis with diverse issues, we need to become more observant. Okay. We need to become more empathetic. We need to become more supportive. And with support, empathy, and being observant, I think many of the emotional traumas that end up leading to depression can at least, we can intervene at an early stage before it gets out of hand.
How about for oneself? What should I be cautious of about myself as in taking care of my mental health?
So for some people, it's also, someone also wrote at the time that if you don't, for instance, if you don't exercise or exercise regularly, you might be opening your doors to mood disorders, mood swings. And when you begin to have mood swings, there are high chances that work stress will come in.
Those are little indicators.
You begin to feel obese, or you're already suffering from the stigma that comes with being obese, or you decide not to eat. You're probably starving yourself of the nutrients that you need. So all of this, sometimes it starts from that pretty basic step of you understanding I'm stressed, my work is stressing me out, my friends are toxic, my neighbors are toxic, even my cousins are toxic, and I think I need to cut off from relationships that are not helping me maintain a very good mental health. So when we get to such level of awareness, it's a lot easier to deal with. But as it is, there are tons of people out there who, still romance relationships that are not healthy, that are not even supporting their mental health.
A lot of people just feel the uncertainty of or the anxiety of losing friends, even if they're not the best for you, but maybe it took them so many years to get them on board, and then what happens if I lose these friends? Now, how do I make new ones, especially for people who are very busy out there and who may not come across, or the people they come across on a daily basis are official people who are also busy. You meet people on the line of business and work and all of that, and so on. But talk to us from the window of religion. We see that a lot of our people, we are very religious people. How does religion help when it comes to giving the peace of mind, or trying to become an opium where it reduces the stress that one goes through? Because if you open the holy books, all holy books, there's always the sides where, okay, you live this for God, God allows this to happen, things like that. How does religion help in situations like this?
Okay, I'll quickly say this. Over the week, we started a care and support dialogue for mental health, and we brought diverse experts. One of the guest speakers is a maternal health advocate, and one of the things she said, we need to stop praying. Not stop praying. We need to understand that yes, prayer is okay, but we need to engage more, ask more questions, and begin to dialogue over issues. So where the religion comes in is that we sometimes put the bulk of the work, or put the bulk of the response to prayer, and then that that takes away the human
Okay.
relations, where all you need sometimes, all a stressed person needs sometimes, just listening ears.
Yeah.
Just listen to me. Just let me tell you all of my
Exactly.
issues,
And I feel like
and
that.
don't intervene. Not like, oh, the Bible says or the Quran says, you're already quoting. No, not that. Someone even, also during the week, someone was like, you can actually love someone to a fault. Like, you create a problem by loving. Sometimes, this is someone whose relatives suffered, depression from being drug induced. And he said his family had to learn the hard way that, you can love and create a problem. But all the relative needed at that time was just understanding. I didn't want to go to school. I don't want to go to school at the time you want me to go. And that was the conversation. But he was compelled to go at the time they wanted him to go. And that created a lot of problems for him, for the relative while he was in school. He became, he started abusing drugs. And so they got a call that, your brother is drug induced, is behaving in a funny way. So people sometimes have to learn the hard way. Some of these things, so when we begin to have those conversations, like, yes, it's good to pray, but the truth is that this guy needs to be listened to.
Yeah.
This guy needs to be supported. Oh, his mom is very abusive. You need to address that. Don't tell him to pray over it. Don't tell her to pray over it. This individual has been abused. Let's have this conversation.
Right. So it's about prayer and work. So let's not pray and not work.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, what are the practical symptoms of depression for one to really know that, okay, I may not be conscious of it, but when these things are happening, it's possible that I'm depressed?
Okay, so it varies. It's quite subjective, and then it varies based on individuals.
Right.
For some, they decide not to be actively involved in social activities, and
That's like a withdrawal.
Social withdrawal, which is, and that's for someone who is supposedly a sociable individual. Begins to withdraw from, let's go out, I just want to spend some time alone. Let's hang out just for a drink. I don't feel like, or you begin to embrace sleeping. Oh, I just want to sleep. I just don't feel like talking to anybody. And then or for some, you constantly talk about a subject matter over a long period. Oh, suicide. Oh, depression. Oh, family issues. Oh, low self-esteem. Oh, we need to begin to pay attention to what such a person is driving at that time. And if it's contrary to what they stand for, then we need to understand that this individual isn't. And there are others who, would talk about their issues because they just want you to, that's a sign like, I need help, I need help. I'm tired of this life. You're having a conversation about ambition. Oh, we need to buy a house, and say, I'm just tired, I'm just tired. And you're like, well, you don't pay attention to, I'm just tired. You're all excited about the goals, the dreams. And he's saying, I'm tired. And you notice that every time you come around, it's not giving you that time because you are not on the same level anymore. He's lost, not hope, but he's beginning to feel like he has failed at certain things or a deadline that he has set for himself, he hasn't met it. Then somehow he's beginning to feel like he's not really worth living for.
But if we compare the last few decades, let me say 3-4 decades ago and now, we see, even from the statistics we read earlier on, there seemed to be a gradual rise in cases of mental health illnesses. What is really giving rise to this mental illnesses over the decades? Because we never used to have this much statistics. In fact, at the time, Nigerians were said to be the happiest people on earth. So what happened, and why are we having this gradual rise in mental illnesses where they put at 1 out of every 4 Nigerians? That's scary.
Yes, it is. So for me, I always say that I'm excited that I'm in between the Generation Z and the Generation Y, because I kind of understand how these guys work. growing up was not so fun for many of us because we had to endure, the bullying. We had to endure the.
But it was the fun at that time.
It was the fun, but look at us now, and look at where we are. We're all products of our experiences. Things were really, we got used to abuse, and no one could listen to us. But it's a lot easier now. I go on social media and I'm talking about how I don't love my mama, I don't love my dad for what they did to me, or why I feel, I hate everyone because this is what they did to me growing up. Oh, I suffered abuse.
And the irony is, now that we have platforms to vent and talk, now is when we have more cases of mental illness.
Yes.
So how do we reconcile this?
So the pressure is real, is becoming evident, and it's clear that over the, like you said, 4 decades, 3 decades, we never had clear arrangements on how to, solve these future problems that we are facing. We were laid back that we will always remain the same.
Yeah.
We'll always find around. But these days, people are emotionally tired. They just can't even deal with the numerous issues coming up. You are not married, you are single, you don't have money. Today, you are saving up ₦1 million for a project. Next thing, exchange rate goes up, and you're like, you have to work more to. So those economical issues, yes. People have lost their jobs just because there is no support system of any kind. After you lose your job, you get back home. No one is even saying, it's human to lose your job. Put your CV together. Let's see what we can do again. All you hear is, you have lost your job. What are you doing? You are not valuable. You are not adding any. And that's a typical Nigeria setting.
Yeah.
We get so used to stigmatizing people, berating them at every chance that we get. And people can't really take this any longer. It's messing with their self-esteem. It's messing with their emotions and relationships. Part of the conversation again and my friend was like, we need to begin to talk about the impact relationships and marriages are having on people's mental health. My friends told me about how, he got divorced just because his relative at that time was suffering from a mental illness. So the spouse says, is this a trend in the family? Begins to, and that was how a supposed love affair ended. How is he expected to, heal over this? How is it, in as much as, he's going to man up, but it's not easy to think of, someone who never thought in his life that he would be separated or even divorced. And just because a relative, you see those kind of reactions, they trigger, thoughts like this. They trigger suicide ideations.
You mentioned the support systems earlier on. We know that we used to be, or originally, we are very communal people. Communal people where you have an uncle. In fact, remember those days where when we were in school, you can visit your uncle or visit your auntie, and then you get resources to go back to school without necessarily going back home to your mom or your dad, and everything is cool. We don't really have that this time around, where everyone is thinking about just the children, and then you have to go back to your dad. You have to, no matter how related or how close we are. What is fading that communal life? In fact, if you go to the societies now, the next person living next to you, your next fence, you may not see the person for close to 2 weeks or 3 weeks. You may not come in contact. Everyone is just going out to the work, and then you come back and sleep, and go back to work, and you come back to sleep. If you're traveling, you travel, and all of that. You don't even get to see your neighbor. You don't get to engage. What is fading off that communal life, really?
Okay, I think the population, the surge in, expenses and all of that. You don't want to entertain more people. I knew growing up for me, I enjoyed that. Holidays, I go to cousins' house and just chill for over a month. But I don't do that anymore. I don't think so. One of the issues I see is, or I think, is making this happen. We are beginning to have trust issues. When you come to my house, what do you go back to tell your parents? when you come to my house, if you are a girl, there's a likelihood that you can be abused. You know, those issues that we never used to talk about, we are now beginning to realize that, you know, your cousin actually abused my daughter, and then we didn't have that conversation because of family. Let's just save the family name, but she's not coming again. You know, don't let's even go there. Oh, my son came to your house the other day. He learned how to do this, how to do. I didn't teach him what's going on. And then people are beginning to become more conscious, like, you know, I'd rather just train you my way. Whatever I teach you is what I teach you. Don't go out there and learn what I did not teach you. And so all of these issues are beginning to, obviously, more single parents out there for reasons of, you know, like we talked about it in the care and support dialogue, that, you know, there are many people who are not emotionally mature, so they don't even understand empathy, and when they get into relationships, they make it worse for their partners. And these are, you know, these are issues. These are
all complex issues that are compounding the situation. Now, just in 1 minute before we go, on a day like this, how best can the day be commemorated for lasting impact?
Okay, so for us, I have a foundation, Across All Initiative for Mental Health and Stigma Eradication. One of the ways we, you know, are trying to commemorate the Mental Health Day is we started with a care and support dialogue, and because we saw that care and support, they seem basic, but they are really
very important.
If we embrace, you know, the values of care and support, we really can, you know, help with a lot of these issues that we're experiencing. Another way we are also looking at, you know, commemorating the day is by, you know, training and training media practitioners on how to, you know, report mental health related issues. Sometimes all we get is, oh, drug abuse everywhere, but no one is really asking the root cause, the issues. Why would someone decide to be a drug addict? Why would someone try to, you know, withdraw from social engagements? We're not asking the right questions. And I think the media, you know, has a huge platform to begin to drive the conversation in the way it ought to.
All right.
So that's why we were considering, you know, teaching.
All right. Well, it's still so much work for all of us to do as a people to reduce the statistic of 1 out of 4 Nigerians suffer from mental illness. And it's really a thing of concern. Thank you so much, Oluwaseun Dosunmu, for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for what you do as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Right.